me now Mike Davis, former law clerk to Justice Neil Gorsuch and president of the Article 3 Project. Mike, a lot of people don't realize that these briefings do continue. I'm not sure why they ever continued. I think all of it's stupid. But in this case, is it justified, given what we know about Biden's cognitive state and obviously his own handling of classified information?
Definitely. The President of the United States is the commander-in-chief under our Constitution, and he gets to control who gets classified information and who does not. And so President Trump correctly made the determination that President Biden cannot be trusted with classified information with his cognitive failure, along with his mishandling of classified records before. He had 5 stashes of stolen classified records from his time as vice president, moved several times, accessible by his employee who was a Chinese agent and maybe used by Hunter Biden to secure Ukraine funding. So I think President Trump made the right decision here.
Well, I mean, you're going to hear the screams from the left, Mike, about this, that it's petty and so forth. Oh, taking down people's paintings is petty. I think it sends a message to the country, and an important one, that your own party knocks you out of the running, okay, completely circumvents the primary process to run Kamala Harris because of your cognitive state. And yet our duly elected president is supposed to say, oh, this is neat. That's great. Let's keep giving him classified information. That would truly be insane.
Yeah, I mean, you had the Biden Justice Department with special counsel Robert Hur, who came to a finding that Biden is not mentally fit. And so he should not have classified information.
Well, Mike, the other thing that we got to get to with you tonight is what's happening in the courts, okay? Because we have judges, now most of them are more liberal, but not all of them, who are hearing these cases seeking injunctive relief against what DOJ and President Trump are doing, namely rooting out the waste, fraud, and abuse that we were just talking about with Congresswoman Mace. Now, these nationwide injunctions could, if successful, pass Monday with the deferred resignation of these USAID employees, could halt the president's agenda, again, in all 50 states. What do you believe will happen at these hearings, and will President Trump ultimately prevail?
So the American people elected President Trump to bring much-needed reforms to Washington. He campaigned on the fact that he's going to implement DOJ and get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. And the president has that power under Article 2 of the Constitution. He has both the commander-in-chief power to bring people from overseas back home like he's doing at USAID. He also has power to hire, fire, move federal employees. That's part of his constitutional power as the chief executive officer.
Right, but the government, just so I understand, Mike, I don't mean to interrupt, but the government employee union, that rose up, and a Trump-appointed judge, Carl Nichols, late today in the D.C. District Court, he agreed with some of the more liberal judges on this and some of the liberal jurists and legal thinkers, and decided, look, wait, you got to pause the resignations of these 2,200 employees until at least a hearing on Monday in the D.C. District Court. So he was named, I think, back in 2019 by President Trump. And district court judges tend to be, not as ideologically necessarily on point with the president who appoints them, but nevertheless, it's not all Obama and Clinton appointees here.
I would say to these federal judges, these activist judges, there are remedies for these employees. There's the Merit Systems Protection Board for people who think they were fired for political reasons. There's the Court of Federal Claims if a contractor believes that their contract was terminated improperly, but you don't have nationwide injunctions by liberal judges that curtail the president's Article 2 power.
Yeah, well, Mike, that has to be decided by the court. These nationwide injunctions are an absolute menace. Thank you, Mike, as always. And it just went from bad to worse for our Democrat friends. How sad.